morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Yes, it is me again. And here I am with our Saturday morning, July the 2nd. How on earth it got to July? I have no idea. But anyway, it's July the 2nd. And before we begin, first of all, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, I've actually already said good morning to him. But anyway, he doesn't mind. We'll say it again. Who is, as always, standing to my right side. And I'd like to say good morning to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rosemary. Good morning, everyone.
Now, just to be clear, Chris, let's be clear about this. Do I have you locked in a cupboard?
And I haven't found the key yet.
Yeah, but that's because I tie you to the chair, right?
Absolutely. At least you bring me food.
Only occasionally, though. Oh dear! Everybody has this vision of you sitting in a little cupboard somewhere in my house. I thought, why not tell them the truth and say, actually, that's exactly where you are. You're in a little cupboard. All right. So I know we've only just begun. Is there anybody there yet, Chris, or are we a little early for that?
Oh, yeah. We have our people who are literally waiting for us to go live and immediately click in. And then we have others who have to wait for the notification to click in. So, yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
definitely have people here.
All right. Well, let's give it a few minutes then, and tell us how your day yesterday went. Why don't you talk us through your day yesterday? How did you have a good day yesterday, Chris?
I'm even trying to recall. Oh, I started my day off with a massage. So that was a good way to start the day.
Yeah, very nice.
And I ended the day down at the jetty watching the sunset.
With the old man who fell. Do you want to tell that story?
Oh, that was pretty sad. There
That
was
was,
There
I
was
thought,
an older couple, and I would say he was probably late 60s, early 70s, and I noticed as he was walking past me, he had really skinny legs. And they walked in between my car and the car to the left, and directly in front of us was a jetty, so big boulders all put together to separate the sand from the sea. And I heard him say to his wife, let's find a place to sit. And when you look at these boulders, it's rare that you're ever going to get a flat surface, and they're
but,
all differing sizes and
but
gaps in
they're huge.
between.
They're huge boulders, though, right? Let's be clear. They're enormous, big stones, right?
Right. And so she was walking behind him and she was like, "No, I don't think we should do that." And he's like, "Come on, we'll find a good seat." "No, no, I don't think we should do that." "Well, I'm going to go on this rock." And he hops up on one, I shouldn't say he hops up, he pushes himself up on one rock and stands. And she's kind of right behind him. And then he says, "Oh, look, that rock looks much better for us to sit on." She says, "No, honey, no, honey, don't do that. Don't do that." And as he's saying that, he decides he's going to do it. And he slips and he falls backwards on his butt onto the rock he was initially on. And because it's not a flat rock, he slides headfirst down the rock, and she catches his head before he hits the other rock below. And the first thing he says to her is, "Why did you get in my way?" Long story short, they avert a fight. She's shaking because she was so worried 'cause she saw it all happen. He manages to find a seat to sit down. She manages to lean against a rock, and then I hear him saying, "Oh, look, I tore open my elbow." So you can't help but hear conversations. Our windows are down. I reach into the car and I pull out my band aid and I go over and I apologize and I say to him, "I'm sorry, I couldn't help but hearing your conversation. Would you like a band aid?" So they took the band aid graciously. And then he began to talk back and forth with her about how stupid he was for trying and why didn't he listen to her. And she said, "Well, I did tell you." So it
Did
was
you?
quite peaceful sunset.
You
I
could.
thought I was going to have to get out there and do something to help a poor man who was going to be all torn up, but he was embarrassed. He was quite embarrassed.
But can you imagine that this must go on every day with them in their marriage? Don't do that. Don't do that. No, I'm going to do it. Don't do that. Can you imagine that scenario, living with that every day? They sound like a very cute couple to me. But yeah, but and there was no sunset. You said, right, Chris? There was no. You didn't really see a
There's
sunset.
nothing discernible about a sunset, no.
Okay, so but at least you had fun with the old couple and watching him falling down. It's sort of like
I
what is that?
wouldn't say I had fun, but I think what I did say
All
to you
I,
last
all,
night,
all
it's
I can think of is Humpty Dumpty.
it's interesting people watching there.
Oh my goodness, is it just? Is it just? You see all kinds of people, and they, for some reason or another, even though it can be quite busy sometimes, they don't realize that other people can hear what they're saying. It's like, people think that they're strolling for a walk, and even though there are lots of people about, I think they get caught up with the waves and the dolphins and all that sort of thing, and they forget that there are other people who are very close by who can hear every word of what they say. And we do hear some great conversations on that jetty. It's called the jetties. All right, so I think we've given people long enough time, right? So it is Saturday morning, and it is story time, and so I'm not giving anyone a chance to make comments or questions, but I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm going to give you a warning that you may not like this story. Some of you may find this story offensive, but just let me be clear. You are the ones who said to me, can we have some more personal stories, Rosemary? So here we go. I'm going to give you these more personal stories. Now it is coming up to the 4th of July. So, all right. So bearing that in mind, once upon a time, as all good stories must begin, as I tell my 9-year-old grandson, once upon a time, however many years ago it was, there were several men, and women actually, who fought for independence. And this is why America celebrates the 4th of July, because the 4th of July is the official day of independence, right, Chris?
Signing of the Declaration of Independence,
Yeah,
yes.
signing of the Declaration of Independence. All right, and isn't that where we have the quote, "The home of the land and the free"? The land of the, what is it? The land of,
I think that's part of a song.
what is it?
Land
The
of the
home,
free and home of the brave.
the home of the free. That's it. The home of the free and the home of the brave. But we know, don't we? Or we know in my story anyway. We know that freedom is not for everyone in this country, even though we like on the 4th of July to celebrate it. We like to look at fireworks, and we like to say, "Oh yeah, look at that," and the land of the whatever that is, the free and the brave, right? The home of the free and the brave. And we know that if you are a certain color, perhaps, we know that if you're of a certain religion, we know if you're of a certain non-conformist group, we certainly know that if you are homosexual, we know that if you are in any way different or unusual, perhaps the freedoms are not so free for those who, because we are condemned, we are looked down upon, we are frowned. We don't necessarily have, the door marked for blacks only and for whites only. We've gone past that. But we know, those of us who think about things thoroughly, we know that freedom is not for everybody by any means, whether they deserve it or whether they don't deserve it. And so it got me thinking. And there are so many things about our world today. And Chris said to me earlier, wouldn't it be great if we could, if somehow, Rosemary, you could connect with all of those men who fought for independence, and all of those men who strove to get the Declaration signed and so on. Wouldn't it be great if you could talk to them and get their opinions on what our world is like today? And I think, personally, I think they'd be horrified. They'd be thrilled on the one hand, because after all, we do have much more independence than we used to do. But on the other hand, and you must remember also, I'm British, so maybe I'm talking out of my head. Maybe I'm talking out of the top of my head here. Maybe there'll be those of you who say you don't know what you're talking about because you don't know, you're not American, and you'd probably be right. But it's not just about America, it's about every country in the world, and it's about my own country. And the freedoms and the squashing of rights and all of that stuff that goes on all around the world. And it got me thinking. And you did all ask me, remember that, you did all ask me about my that you wanted some more personal stuff about me. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about something I've never talked about before, and I've never said before publicly. So hold on to your hats, get ready for it, and you can have any opinion you like afterwards, as long as you are not mean about it. I will listen to you and I will answer your questions if I can. If you're mean, you're rude, and you're aggressive, we'll block you. That's it. That's what we'll do, because that's what we do. Because this program is all about respect. This show here is all about respect and respecting each other. So I do have to go back a fair way. Now, when God produced me, let's say, he missed a few bits. Now, luckily, I have my arms, I have my legs, I thank goodness I have my working brain, which is pretty good. It's stood me in good stead over the years. But if you sort of look inside of me, and if you look closely, you'll see there's all sorts of weird bits. Let me see. What are those weird bits? Well, a severely deformed kidney, missing rib. Let me see what else. I mean, the list is endless, actually. So I'm only going to point out a few bits and pieces. A thyroid and a parathyroid. The parathyroid is somewhere. It's not where it's supposed to be, that's for sure. It's somewhere behind my chest bone. And just as an aside to this story, at one point, the doctors were talking about sort of, look, you've got a choice. We can either crack open your breastbone to get to the parathyroid because it needed fixing, or you just have to take a pill every day for the rest of your life. Now, which did I vote for, do you think? I was certainly not going to take a pill every day for the rest of my life. That surprised you, didn't it? You thought I'd go for that, didn't you? But no, I'm not. Don't take any medicines of any kind. I also didn't go for the cracking of the breastbone. I did things in my own way, and so far, keeping my fingers crossed, 15, 20 years later or something like that, I'm still here. But what else is weird? Oh, yes, I know. I have a womb which is not just tilted, but it's actually back to front. Yes, I know. See, I did warn you. There's all this stuff inside of me that is really weird, and of course the kidney that I have left, because I only have one kidney. I don't know if I mentioned that. Has a little tumor on it. So look, I'm great on the outside, but not so hot on the inside. Now, all of these issues and these problems don't worry me on a general basis. Oh yeah, the Grey Eagle says, and I forgot my funny back, which has to do with all the kidney stuff and the missing rib and then all that stuff. Anyway, it makes me a bit lopsided sometimes. So all of these things over the years have created lots and lots of issues. And I mentioned, I think, last week in the story that my story time last week, that I had several miscarriages before I had my daughter and after I had my daughter and so on, which is, you know, perfectly true, all to do with stuff. Because when you only have one sort of semi-working kidney, it causes all sorts of difficulties with blood pressure and so on, and all the rest of it. Now, what is that law they just overturned, Chris?
Roe versus Wade.
Yes. So that is overturning the rights of women to have abortions. Where will it end, this overturning of our rights? And just before any of you get upset or annoyed about where I'm going with this, I am anti, holding my hand up, I am anti-abortion. There you go. Never talked about this before, never talked about it publicly. I am anti-abortion. However, let's be clear. I'm anti-abortion when abortions are used as a form of birth control. I'm anti-abortion when abortions are used for women who just for no reason whatsoever, oh, wait a minute, you were careless. You can be careless once, you might be careless twice, but hang on a minute, this is the third abortion you've had. I'm anti-abortion in that way, because again, it's a form of birth control. I'm anti anything that becomes excessive, and I am fully aware, as all of you are, that you know there are many things, there are many rules and regulations and many laws that we abuse, that are abused. You've only got to look at the way that the social services works, and it seems sometimes, really, doesn't it? It seems sometimes that you know, the people who really do need the money, the people who can't get it, and the people who know how to work the system, boy, they're living very pretty now. So there are always those excesses in every way. So when I say I'm anti-abortion, what I'm actually saying is I'm anti the excessiveness or the ease with which people can just say, without thought, without concern, without, you know, without thinking about it. I'm anti anything that is or seeming to be destructive for no reason other than for those selfish reasons. So I'm also talking about this because this week we had a lovely letter from a guy who has an autistic son, and he's been writing to us for us to see if we can help him to know how to deal better with his son, what to do better with his son, and so on. And the last letter that we got from him, he was talking about how his wife was pregnant again. She'd had all the tests, and they were, and this new child had all the everything to indicate that this too would be either an autistic child, or there would be something severely wrong with the child. And so they decided to abort. They decided to have an abortion. And he wrote saying how much he was living with the guilt, and that he knew that God must be against him for such a terrible thing. And he knew that, you know, that he probably had committed the worst sin, and that he would be, you know, in hell, and etc., etc., etc. My heart just went out to this man, because he said he was Catholic, and you know that someone listening to this letter, you know that someone has done a really great job, a really great, you know, job of laying guilt on this guy. And I know that there are many of you out there listening who have perhaps had abortions, and I'm sure for very good reasons, who have this constant nagging guilt at the back of your minds that you live with for the rest of your lives. So this is why I decided to tell you this story. And I'm sort of halfway through the story, but I haven't yet gotten to the nitty gritty, but I'm getting there slowly. All right. So there are many reasons why people have abortions. Perhaps someone has been raped. Whether you've been raped by your husband or whether you've been gang raped is the same thing. For some legal office, some legal, somebody to think that they can take away the rights of a woman to abort a child in those circumstances, I would like to put every one of them in that same situation and see how they handle it. Because I know that some of them are men, but I know some of them are women who have never ever been in that position and who would never be in that position. And from their high and mighty place, they judge. I know we have to have rules and regulations, but isn't this the home of the brave and the free? Isn't this, aren't we a more sophisticated society? Are women going to have their rights very slowly eroded away, slowly through laws like this? I don't think that any one of us has the right to judge another in that way, and I don't think any one of us has the right to take the rights away from someone else unless that person has committed a criminal act or an act against society. But abortion is not an act against society, and it is not by those who take abortion or have abortions. It is not generally something that is an act that is taken lightly by any means whatsoever. So here I begin my own a personal story, which I've never talked about publicly, but I think it's time somebody stood up, and I hope you're all with me, all of you who listen and understand what I'm saying. I'd like you all to stand up and write to your MPs and write to whoever it is you write to, and stand and be counted. And that's what I'm doing today. I'm standing and I'm being counted. Many years ago, my daughter Samantha was she was 10 or 11 years old, and knowing my situation and knowing that it was almost impossible for me to become pregnant, perhaps I didn't take as much care as I should have. Who knows why it happened? One of the reasons why I think it happened to me is so I can sit here today and tell you this story. But I became pregnant, and when I carried my daughter, I have to tell you, I was on full, absolute bed rest for 7.5 months. I was up for a week and then I was put on bed rest again. I had severe toxemia. I was very, very ill. I had to have injections every week. I can go on and on and on and tell you how awful it was. And when I went to the doctor, he sat me down and he looked at me. He said, of all of the people in this practice, Rosemary, you're the top of the list of someone who should not have another child. It is very dangerous for you. 10 years ago when you had your daughter, you almost died, and now we're looking 10 years on and you're not any healthier. In fact, you've gotten worse in some regard, and for you to have a child would, could be very serious for you and you could die. I already said to you I'm anti-abortion, right? And I am. I don't believe that you should have abortion without thinking seriously about it and without a good reason. I'm not a flippant person. I'm not an easy, the easy come, easy go. And I abhor the fact that there are women out there who use abortion as a way of, just control, family control, you know what I'm saying anyway. All right, so I go away from the doctor's office and I am in tears. And for the next couple of weeks, I don't know what to do with myself because I know I have a decision to make. Uh, I do not have a supportive and a loving spouse. I do not have anyone in my life who would help me in this situation. Um, but mostly my thoughts were with my 10-year-old daughter and my responsibility to her. And the doctor had been very, very clear with me. You are putting your life at risk, and you are putting your daughter's life at risk, because what is she going to do, Rosemary, if you're not around? Her father, my ex-husband, was certainly not in the picture, anywhere in the picture. My mother was not in the picture, my sisters, my brother, nobody was in the picture. They'd all gone their own way. So it was Samantha and I, which is probably one reason why we're so close today. But I had to think what would happen to her. I had no one to leave her with. I had no one I could trust to leave her with. You may think, as I did often through that time, I'm just making excuses. I'm making excuses. I'm giving myself reasons, and I'm justifying the act. I'm justifying the fact that I'm going to perhaps have this abortion. And in fact, I did end up having the abortion. It was not an easy decision, but I'm going to tell you one thing, and this is where you might be absolutely horrified. I have never felt guilty about having an abortion. I do not feel guilty now about having an abortion. And I think that is because of my very, very strong belief in God. I believe in God's rules. I believe in that universal and amazing God energy that is out there. Since that time of having that abortion, I have known over and over again, through circumstance, through seeing other people, through helping other people deal with situations like this, I've known that I did the right thing. Because I firmly believe, and believed then, because Gregor has educated me in this, and I've talked about this many times before. Souls come to this earth. Sometimes they come for a moment. Sometimes they just come for the experience of the womb. Sometimes they come for the experience of the room and the womb, and that first breath of air, that first connection with the earth plane. Sometimes they come for a little longer time. But they are the ones who choose. We think we're choosing. I thought that I was choosing that abortion. But I have learned so many times over the years that this was, yes, it was my choice, but it was also the choice of that soul to have that experience of the womb, to have that experience of connecting truly with my energy, to have that experience of knowing me and knowing themselves better through knowing me and through knowing my energy. If someone had said to me then, it's illegal, well, it was illegal. You couldn't just go and have an abortion. I got an abortion on medical grounds. So does that make it okay then? Because I don't think it does. I think that if a woman desires not to have a child, not to continue with a pregnancy, if there is a good reason why, a good reason, and there are many reasons why women choose to have abortions. If there is a good reason why, aside from a health reason, there are mental health reasons, there are emotional reasons why women choose not to have a child. But the bottom line is it's the woman's body, it's the woman's physical body, and the woman can choose. Now, you all can judge. There are religious bodies who judge. Well, good luck with that then. You can try and strive, and those religious bodies often do, to make us feel the worst, the most guilty. They can judge us, but I don't care about their judgment. I care about God's judgment. I care about whether I did the right thing for me. I care about whether I did the right thing for my daughter, and whether or not it conforms to what some people on this planet think of as, a sin or not a sin, or whether it conforms to anybody else's idea of what is right or not right. I'm the one who answers to God at the end of the day. Now, since that time, I have seen many angels. And we're going to have a seminar at one point where I'm going to describe what angels look like to you and what they say to us and how they say it to us. But I've seen many angels. And I have been embraced by many angels. And I have been held by many angels. And I tell a story about a time when I was in a spiritualist church giving messages when an angel came into the church. Very unangel-like, very unangel behavior. But as she sat beside me after the event, and you can read about that, in one of my books, or maybe I'll tell the story again at another time. But as she sat next to me, and she leaned her head on my shoulder, I reached my hand out to her and I said, "How can I help you?" And it was then she looked at me and she said, "They've sent me. They've sent me from America to take a look at you. They've sent me from America." What they found in me must have been somewhat okay, because here I am, I'm in America. At that point, when she'd said that to me, I had no intention of coming to America. Why would I want to go to such a country? I was perfectly happy in my own country with my own friends. I had no desires or ambitions to go anywhere else. They've sent me from America to come and take a look at you. Do you think that she looked at me with condemning eyes? Because I can tell you she did not. Do you think she looked at me judging me for my flaws, my faults, my failings? She did not. I'm here in America and I go all over the world. I've traveled all over the world and God has gone with me. And Christ is truly my Savior. And you know something? Not once in all of the years that I've been doing this has anyone, Gray was putting his hand on my shoulder as I'm saying this to you, not once has anyone said one condemning word about the fact that I chose, because I did, for good reasons, but still, lots of people have good reasons. I chose to abort my unborn child. And I have no guilt, because I know that that soul got from me what it wanted. I know that that soul had somewhat of an experience of me and my energy, and I know that that soul is better for it. I cannot tell those of you who've had abortions who carry your guilt around with you. I cannot say to you, don't do it, don't feel guilty. But ask yourself why you feel guilty. Ask yourself, who was it who laid that guilt trip on you? Life is too short. You cannot live with regrets, but you make them better. You embrace all that you can that is good and pure and true. When I'm with someone who is filled with guilt because they've had an abortion, because they've had to have an abortion for one reason or another. They know that they have an ally in me. I hold their hands and I can understand them, and I can understand what they're going through. And I can understand that although many, many people think that a woman who has an abortion is just doing it without any care or without any worry, that's not how it is. For those of us who do care, and for those of us who are having that abortion for the right reasons, we do care. It's a huge decision to make, which we go backward and forward on. But I will tell you again, I'm proud to say this because I know that what I did was not the wrong thing to do. It was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do because here I am, a mother and a grandmother, and I'm giving to my darling boy everything that grandma should give to him. And I would not have been here had I not made that choice years ago. It is easy to judge. It is easy to sit in a court of law and determine people's lives. It is easy for the President of the United States. Well, where does he come off saying that? If you cross the state line to have an abortion, you'll be arrested. Is he warning women? Is he worried for them? Or what? But I, if I were in the same position again, I would do it again. I'm not encouraging all of you out there to go off and have abortions willy-nilly. You know that. You absolutely know that. But I'm asking all of you who are sitting in judgment, all of you who are saying it's wrong and God says it's wrong, when did you last speak to God? Because the God that I know says, judge not, lest ye yourselves be judged. So let's leave the judging to God, shall we? Let's leave any reprisals to God, shall we? Let's try to be open-minded. Let's try to be loving and giving. As Gradle would say, your world needs gentleness. And in this time of wars and strife and the overturning of people's rights, the overturning of women's rights, the overturning of rules and regulations, so many people who should be punished who are not being punished. I want you to think this weekend, it's the 4th of July, and you'll all be celebrating with your fireworks, with all of that stuff, hot dogs and things like that. I'll take a burger, but I won't take a hot dog. But when you are celebrating, ask yourself, what are you actually celebrating? Because you can't say, not with your hand on your heart, you cannot say this is the land of the brave and the free, because the freedoms are being eaten away at us, eaten away. Every time we go into a shopping mall and somebody commits violence against us, our freedoms are taken away. We can't go into the shopping mall anymore. Where, you know, where is the support for the police force in this country? It seems so often non-existent. We suffered through COVID. People are still suffering through COVID. We suffered through COVID. For what? For what? Why isn't there an uprising here? Where is the justice in this world? Because it seems today that it's lacking. I want you to think about it, because it might be lacking as far as the law is concerned. It might be lacking as far as human nature is concerned. But our angels are surrounding us. They are with us through our mistakes. They are with us through our difficulties. They are with us when we realize that certain things in our lives that are being eroded, that should not be eroded, they're still with us. And at the end of this life, we're going to look back and we're going to see how we lived it. And I'm hoping hoping that all of you, when you're watching your fireworks and having fun with your families this weekend, that you hold your children tight. You teach them open mindedness. You teach them how to love truly without judging. You teach them that they should be accepting all of those who have different points of view, whether you agree with them or not. And as long as we're all respectful of each other, and as long as we're all respectful of each other's ideas, then when those fireworks go off, you can celebrate and you can enjoy the land of the brave and the free. The end. That's my story. Not sure if we've got anybody left, Chris, listening.
Oh, everyone just dropped off, Rosemary. No, I'm kidding with you. No, everybody's still here. Mark leaves a comment, Rosemary, saying, I want you to know, from a man's perspective, I support what you shared. A beloved saint by the name of Bernadette Subrius of Lourdes, France, while in trance, seeing Our Lady in heaven, was asked by a doctor, what is a sinner? Bernadette said without flinching, a sinner is one who loves evil. You, dear Rosemary, know you are loved by God as well as Great Eagle.
Well, yes. And I know all about St. Bernadette. Thank you for that, Mark. Appreciate it. Chris.
Marlo says, I respect you and feel only love. Of course, this story doesn't change that. That is almost impossible. Thank you for your openness.
Keep going, Chris.
Maggie says, my aunt couldn't have children and adopted my cousins. Their relationship was so beautiful. She had to have a hysterectomy as a young woman.
Thank you for sharing that. Keep going, Chris.
Carol says, I support you, your decision, and values 10,000%. You said publicly what I've been saying since 1979. Precisely. Bravo, Rosemary.
Well, good for you, too.
Annika says, Rosemary, your story is not horrifying. I can understand your hardship in making this decision. I have never had an abortion, but I can see why others might have to make a decision like this. Judith says, I feel such gratitude and love toward you for sharing such an intimate and heartfelt experience with us. I feel so deeply for you. And she's very much waiting for the angel seminar.
Yes, me too.
Cheryl says, nothing horrifies me about the story. We each make our own choices, and it's not for me to judge anyone for their choices. Annika says, I agree with you regarding abortion. I am pro choice, but there are good reasons when to abort and when not. Judith says, I agree with you, Rosemary. We think the same about this subject.
Well,
Rhonda
good.
says, I agree with you 100%, Rosemary. Every system gets abused.
Yeah. What a shame that is, though.
Donna says, my sister's doctor told her it would be better to abort because the baby had problems. He's 9 now and just like normal.
Oh, nice. That's lovely. Lovely.
So these are all the comments following your story.
Okay.
So I guess we are ready for questions.
Do we have any, Chris?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for that support, and I appreciate that. But now we have questions, and we have time for questions. Chris, do you want to say anything before we go any further?
Anything about?
Anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Let's see. Do we have any other comments? Everybody in the beginning was just saying their good mornings, and we have people on from Chile, from Georgia in the US, from the UK, from Holland, England.
Well, look, we have all these people listening in. Uh, we 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 must have a question or two in there, perhaps not, Chris, but it is story time. And what we usually do when there are no questions, I'm sorry, I've got an itchy nose here. What we usually do when there are no questions is we say, that's it then, we'll be done for today. But I do want to then come back as there are no questions. And sorry, everybody's listening. Does this mean I'm going to be vexed? I've got an itchy nose. Um, so I mentioned the angel in the church who came into the church and talk about judging and not judging. We did in a church in Lincoln, in the city of Lincoln, in the north of England. We did once when I was there, where I was just about to give messages, and there was this bang, 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 bang on the door, and the people at the back kept ignoring it, because the rule is, you see, that in a spiritist church, once the medium starts to give messages, you can't interrupt her. But this bang, bang, bang kept going on and on. In the end, I said to the guy at the back, would you like to open the door and let that person in, please? And I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I can tell you that as this woman walked in, she was very flamboyant and had very loud voice, and she spoke with marbles in her mouth, you know, that sort of the English way of talking. I've just flown in from America, she said, and was waving her arms around and turning around in the aisle, and she's looking for a place to sit, and there was nowhere for her to sit because every seat was taken. And it was a big church, and as she's walking down the aisle and she's throwing her arms back, she keeps telling us that she's flown in from America, and you could smell the booze on her, let me tell you. Oh boy, oh boy. And she was loud and she was obnoxious, and talk about people tutting and hushing her, and tutting to each other, and thinking of throwing her out, and who does she think she is, and everyone in the church, practically everyone in the church, except me, I have to say, because I'm a goody two shoes. But except me, I was just curious. But you could see everybody was looking down their noses. They were frowning. They were disgusted. They were shushing her. They were tutting. They were, expecting some of the elders of the church to throw her out. And she was just trying to find a seat. And she got closer and closer and closer until in the end, I actually had to ask the guy who played the organ, had come down from the organ to sit in the audience. And I said to him, can you go back? Can you go and sit on your seat at the organ, please, and let her have your seat? He was not happy at all. And every single person, I would say, in that room was judging and tutting and thought this person was disgusting. And let me point out, this was an angel in our midst. And there they all were. And I was curious. There they all were, judging an angel. Can you imagine that? Judging an angel harshly, because that's what we do, don't we? Anyone who behaves in a way that doesn't conform with our idea of what is right behavior. So we sit in judgment from our high places, and we look down our noses from our high places, and we think how disgusting it is that some woman should get totally drunk and then walk into a church and tut, 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 and shush, shush, shush. And throughout the service, pretty much all the way through, she would make loud comments and sort of, and poor people sitting next to her, because she did stink. And it was only after the service that she came and she sat next to me, and I was sitting up on the platform there, and it was only she came up and she sat in the chair next to me, and people were milling around and talking to each other, and that's the time when in the spiritual church everybody has a cup of tea and biscuit and we're all chatting to each other, and I'm just sitting there and she comes and sits next to me and puts her head on my shoulder, and poof, she stinks, she's drunk, and it almost feels as if she's had a bottle of whiskey poured over her. And as I put my hand on her hair, I stroke her hair and I say to her, how can I, quietly, just the two of us, we're talking between the two of us now, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? And that's when she looks up, and she's not drunk anymore. She's totally stone cold sober. She looks right into my eyes and sits up straight. And the smell of booze is gone. She looks right at me, right into my eyes, and she says, they've sent me. They've sent me to come and take a look at you. They've sent me from America to come and take a look at you. And I knew, absolutely, I knew she was telling me the truth. There's all those people all around, tutting and shushing and condemning an angel who came in disguise. I don't know if she was sent to test me. Not sure. I don't know why she was sent to come take a look at me. I ended up in America. Did I pass the test or did I fail the test? I don't know. But I remember her clearly. They've sent me from America to come and take a look at you. Be careful when you start to judge people for their actions. Be careful when you start to judge people for the way they look or the way they behave. Be careful when you start to judge people for who they are. It's tough. It's tough being human, don't you think? Chris, how are we doing?
Good. We've got a couple of questions now, Rosemary. Carol says, I've read many times that prior to the point of death, that the soul departs in order to save either the animal or the human terrible physical pain, i.e., the mouse soul departs before being killed. What are your thoughts on this?
I've never heard that. I don't know who wrote it. I don't really agree with it. My experience, and I've had a lot of experience, I've held the hands of many who are taking that, let's say, that last breath. And I've spoken to so many people in the spirit world who describe leaving, departing. And I've heard people describe the pain that they're in and the suffering that they're in prior to death. And I've heard them describe them being lifted out, being helped out, being carried. And it's as we are lifted out, as we are being carried out, that all of a sudden, and I've heard this described, oh gosh, so many times, the feeling of warmth, gentleness, safety. I've heard people describe it as being wrapped in a warm blanket. I've heard people saying, that the angels wrapped their wings around me. I've heard many descriptions, but I've never ever heard anyone say, yeah, I left my body because I couldn't deal with the pain of it. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that is not my experience.
Rhonda wants to know, do angels surround us at all times or just when we call upon them needing their help?
I think it's a bit of both, actually. I think that there are lots of earth angels. There are lots of angels who walk this earth. I always say to people, I think my comments are, that snot-nosed kid playing on the street. Be careful, that could be an angel. That smelly old guy sitting on the bus next to you, he could be your angel. You never know, because I think angels come to us in disguise sometimes. They come disguised as something else. There's that great movie, I've forgotten what it is now. There are two great movies where the angel comes down And there's one wonderful movie. I think it's either Cary Grant or Gary Cooper. I can't remember. Gary Cooper. I can't remember now who it is. And the angel, and we hear a bell ring, and the angel says, "There's another angel that's got its wings." I can't remember what the names of the movies are, but I know that angels do come to us from time to time, and they do walk this earth, and they do give us opportunities. As this angel did with me in the church, and as I said, I don't even know if it's a test, to be honest, but if it's a test, I don't know if I passed or failed. But here I am in America, so maybe, I like to think I passed, but who knows? But I think that our angels are with us when we need them. I don't necessarily think they're with us 24/7 because I think they've got other things to do. But I think that my experience has been that for the majority of us, uh, our angels are with us in those, let's say, in those moments, maybe even hours before our passing. They are with us, they surround us, and they are there to make sure that we arrive safely home.
Mark wants to know, how was Gray Eagle with you in this decision you went through? Where does he see God in these issues?
Well, as he has explained to me many, many times, Mark, the soul chooses to come into the womb for only a momentary time. Sometimes it might be a week, a month, 6 weeks. Sometimes it might be to full term. Um, but souls decide they want the experience, perhaps. They want an earthly experience. They want the experience of the womb. They want the experience of connecting energy with energy. They want all of those experiences, but they don't necessarily need the experience of living this earth life. There are some souls who choose to come here, but only for a brief time, to be born to this earth, but only for a brief time. Some souls choose to only take that one breath. That can be so painful for the mother, well, for the parents, but yet for the soul, it is what they need, it's what they require, it's what they have chosen. I mean, if we knew, oh boy, if I knew all the ins and outs of this, if I knew all of the reasons why, I mean, would I be able to actually absorb all of that? I don't think I would. I think we only know as much as we can understand, but I think there's so much more that we don't know. But we're like kids in a school, we're in kindergarten. If Gregor was to sit here and describe the full workings of the universe, I would probably be looking at him as if he was a crazy person, because I would not understand most of what he was saying to me, because I'm a kindergarten kid. I'm not yet in university, so I haven't the knowledge to understand all of the ins and outs of things. Chris.
Well, Rosemary, we're coming right up at time. Annika says, I signed up for the event in Connecticut right after your show last Thursday. I
Oh,
am
well,
so looking forward to meeting you in person.
I'm dying to meet you too, my darling. Don't forget to come say hello. We do have to say that for those of you who got the newsletter, there was a little mistake in there. I think it mentions that the Connecticut event uh, is on July the 27th. Is it, Chris? And in fact, it's August. So we made a mistake. We put in July, and it should be August. So if you bought a ticket, don't turn up in July because I won't be there. So I think it's the last weekend, I think, in August. If you want to know more about it, go to our website. If you have not subscribed, then subscribe, because that's the way of getting our newsletter. But we're excited to be there. And, I'm so thrilled we're already selling tickets. And, don't leave it too long, because before you buy your ticket, because it's only a small venue. So you'll get me all to yourselves. Think about that. Just imagine that we'll be all sitting together, uh, and I'll be there to answer any questions you want. Can't guarantee I'll answer them all, but I'll do my best. But we're going to have a fun weekend. It's going to be great. So we'll be there on Saturday morning, the 27th of August, I do believe it is. So please, 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 if you want to know more about it, go to my website, rosemaryaltea.com. If you need to know more about my books, if you'd like a consultation, if you like all of those, so whatever it is you want, you can email Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com. Or if you forget Chris's name, how can you possibly forget Chris? But if you forget, it's Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. Chris will answer the emails anyway, and she'll do her best to answer them. She's very thorough. She's very good at this. So you'll get your replies fairly quickly. Anyway, all right, that's it for today. I'm glad you've enjoyed story time. Just remember, you are the ones who've been asking me for personal stuff, so I'm giving it to you. Anyway, we shall be back on Thursday morning, absolutely definitely, for the Spirit World Sees All, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we shall be back next Saturday for another story time. In the meantime, we've got lots of things planned for July. Is it Monday? No, it's not Monday, is it? Because Monday's 4th of
You have
July.
Cracking Up next Friday, the 8th.
Yes, we have Cracking Up with my lovely British friends. So that'll be good because we'll have fun with that. So we'll have Cracking Up on the 8th. That is Friday night. And we will be doing some off the cuffs. We'll be doing some more stuff, but go to the newsletter or go to the website and see what it is we're up to. We're definitely next week having healing sessions, a couple of healing sessions this month. So if you have any questions about those things, that's your chance to you can put those questions in beforehand if you'd like to, or we'll have a chat room situation, so you'll be able to ask questions then. So lots of things going on, and until I see you again, which could be any time, you never know. Until I see you again, please, everybody, have a very, very blessed rest of the day. Have a very blessed weekend. Have a great 4th of July, everybody. Remember, are we freedom fighters? I'm a freedom fighter. I believe in freedom of choice. I believe in freedom to allow other people to live their own lives and have the same freedom that I require, that I require for my daughter and for my grandson. Sometimes we just have to speak out, don't we? Until I see you again, everybody, have a great, great rest of the weekend. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Especially thanks to Grey Eagle. Bye-bye, everybody.